Ain't no party like a 1920s Hollywood party, because a 1920s Hollywood party, that's disturbing. Perhaps the wildest part of the movie Babylon is the stuff that really happened. Let's dig into the details. I'm Joey C. Let's go! Babylon takes place in the period between the silent movies and the talkie movies, before sound mixers tried to make movies on their own. Stop trying to bury the dialogue track, you know who you are. Parallels to the other movie about the transition to sound, Singing in the Rain, are highlighted throughout Babylon. But with Babylon's focus on the seedier side of Hollywood, it's more Singing in the Rain via Studio 54. The connections go deeper than just the surface. Like Singing in the Rain's Don Lockwood tries to adjust to a new normal, Babylon's Jack Conrad, played by the beautiful Brad Pitt, faces the exact same issue. This includes Conrad's first talkie where the audiences laugh at his repetitive love scene. This scene is actually a cast of life imitating art imitating life. It's a lot of reflection is what I'm getting at. That scene in Singing in the Rain and in Babylon is inspired by the same incident. Conrad is based on silent film actor John Gilbert. Gilbert was where it was at when it came to romantic leads after the tragic passing of Rudolph Valentino. That is until his first film, His Glorious Night, featured its own I love you, I love you, I love you scene.
I love you, I love you.
Just like Conrad in the movie, Gilbert was on vacation when the movie came out and had no idea it became such a laughingstock. Conrad being enlisted in an awkward choir of stars, singing in the Rain, in front of a mural of Noah's Ark for some reason, comes from the Hollywood revenue of 1929. Awkward choreograph and all. It's also where John Gilbert made his first talkie appearance, performing the balcony scene for Romeo and Juliet. It's all connected, man. Wheels within wheels, dude. The first 20 minutes of Babylon is bound to go down as some of the biggest and splashiest ways a movie has ever begun, depicting a wild and crazy party ran by the head of Kinoscope Pictures. The party takes place at Shays Castle, 60 miles outside of Los Angeles, that was built in the early 20s for that very purpose. With the exception of super producer Irving Thalberg lurking around in the background ready to change Hollywood, most of the people in Babylon are made up, which is to say made up various colorful figures of the time. You see how I turned that around? I'm so clever. Margot Robbie's kinetic Nellie Leroy is based largely on Clara Bow. Just like Leroy, Bow came from a rough New Jersey background, making her mark as the It girl after the movie It. I see the confusion. It's a different It. There are fewer murder clowns. The moment where it's discovered Leroy's emotions have a literal on-off switch reflects Joan Crawford's early years. Leroy got her plastic surgery power move from Beau, who had sinus surgery done to delay shooting. Though, in Beau's case, she was not the one who was cut. Her first scene in a talkie shares the same inspiration as the Singing in the Rain counterpart, recalling a time where Beau had difficulty finding the mic. Though, as far as we know, no camera operators were harmed in the making of that film. Assistant directors having a meltdown is just part of the job. Diego Salva's Manny Torres is a combination of Dudley Murphy and Rene Cardona. Murphy was a journalist turned experimental filmmaker. His Dadaist film, Ballet Mécanique, makes the final montage. Murphy is responsible for creating 1 and 2 real jazz movies, Black and Tan, featuring Duke Ellington, and St. Louis Blues is similar to Manny producing Sidney Palmer's jazz movies. Sidney Palmer is inspired by Sidney Easton. The burnt cork incident that helps Palmer decide his time in Hollywood is done echoes an incident where Freddie Washington was asked to put a darker makeup to match the complexion of her co-star Paul Robinson. Those shorts, which would eventually feature jump jive pioneers like Cab Calloway and Louise Jordan, managed to not only be precursors to rock and roll, but also to music videos. Go team, baby! It only took about a decade for them to stop playing music, though. Ain't that the way it always is? Lee Jun Lee's Lady Fei Zhu is inspired by, among others, Anna May Wong. Like Zhu, Wong was an exotic-sized commodity in early Hollywood, whose implied romance ties to Marlene Dietrich made her incompatible with the new Hollywood. She also borrows from Frances Marion. Marion was a writer in the early days, and she was the first writer to win 2 Oscars. Marion Morgan had a long working relationship with Dorothy Arzner, who was also the inspiration for the director Ruth Adler. Even the pusher who goes by the Count was based on a real person, described in the book Hollywood Babylon as a mild-mannered actor who went by the Count. That opening party, I think I need an adult. Anyways, it contained an allusion to a notorious scandal at the time, when comedian Fatty Arbuckle found himself in the Malcolm in the Middle of a sex and drug-related death that he was later acquitted of. Later, Manny finds himself in the new home that Tobey Maguire as James McKay calls Los Angeles' a-hole. Maguire was originally announced to be playing Charlie Chaplin, which makes the inspiration for the tunnels make a little more sense. The gambling problem that Manny was trying to solve comes from Clara Bow's life, but the tunnels are a wild take on the tunnels of the North Lake Tahoe, Cal Neva Casino on the California-Nevada border. The tunnels are notorious for rumored shenanigans, including a rumored rendezvous spot for Marilyn Monroe and John Kennedy, though the timing on that might be dubious. Geography fans might point out that Lake Tahoe is not a night's drive from Los Angeles, but in the 20s, Niles, now part of the East Bay city of Fremont, California, was home to SNA Studios, a temporary home to Charlie Chaplin. The unseen character in Babylon is William H. Hayes. It wasn't only talkies that changed Hollywood. After a 1915 Supreme Court ruling found that films, as commercial products, weren't protected by the First Amendment, 37 states eventually formed their own censorship buzzkill in response to what was seen as Hollywood debauchery. In order to have a uniform set of guidelines, the Hays Code was created, which gave way to the MPAA ratings we know today. Hollywood was suddenly under more scrutiny. Giselle used 1920s mugshots as a style guide for the movie to give everyone that partied till dawn look. Justin Horowitz's jazz-heavy score leaned heavily on EDM and hard rock to give the music more drive and chaos than jazz of that period might have had. Giselle pitched this project all the way back in 2009, but the studios claimed it was too ambitious of a project. The suggestion that he turn it into a musical ended up being the script for La La Land. After spending 3 entire years looking for the right unknown to play Manny, the director ended up shooting the entire movie on his iPhone with him and his family. Supposedly, the party scenes were turned down a bit in that version. Good lord, I hope so. Ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else in between, thank you for watching. What did you think of Babylon? Let us know in the comments below, and as always, everybody, thanks for watching.